Hi. Can I help you? I will pay for your entire immigration. Flights, tickets, lawyers, everything. Sorry, what? You won't even have to pack up your house or go through the lengthy immigration process. What is happening right now? There is one tiny catch, and that is that you must choose between Canada and the United States. These are solid choices. Also, you have 20 minutes to decide. 20 minutes before I get on a plane and leave my entire life behind. Yes, and once you go there, you may never leave.
I'm Christy in Canada, and I'm your immigration bestie. I'm also here to spill the tea on immigration. And I once took a course in musical theatre history. In today's video, I settle the debate for once and for all. America versus Canada. There are 14 categories, which I have systematically gone through, of which number 9, it is the deal breaker. Work prospects. Canadians are like obsessed with Canadian work experience. It's like 10 times harder to get a position if you do not have Canadian experience. Also, in Canada, depending on the industry that you're in, you may actually get paid less than your US counterpart for doing the exact same job. And in the US of A, Americans are generally more open to non-Americans getting positions. So the winner for this round is America. Canada's free universal healthcare is mentioned as the ultimate Canadian dream. Here's the thing, it's what you pay for through your taxes. And it is a high level of tax. Another thing is the quality really varies from province to province. If your medical condition is not urgent or critical, they can have a really long wait time to look after it. And it's also really difficult to find a family doctor. The healthcare system doesn't cover dental or eye care or prescriptions, so it's not as universal as you think it is. Versus in the US of A, let's just hope you don't get sick without healthcare insurance, because if you don't, you are as royally screwed as Has and Megs. And if you do have private insurance, make sure that you're ready for a fight, because insurance companies try to not pay for things because they are profit-based. So who wins this round? Canada wins this category so hard, I would award it more points, but apparently those are not the rules. But like, what is the point of good health if you don't have good TV? I'm not kidding. Who wins the battle of TV? Canada versus the US? The answer is none of them. The Brits win.
When your people say they hate you, don't come crawling back to me.
If you are Canadian or a permanent resident, you can expect to spend about $6,000 to $7,000 depending on the program and varying from province to province. However, if you are an international student, expect to pay triple to quadruple that amount, which is brutal. So the average tuition for an American college is $10,230. For an in-state student at a 4-year public college. $26,290 for an out-of-state student. Oh, and a whopping $35,830 for a private nonprofit 4-year college. Oh my gosh. It is worth noting that America is home to some of the most prestigious institutions, and the idea is that if you attend one of these prestigious schools, you will build an elite network of individuals who will allow you to have an elite job. At least, that is the hope. And that is why these places are popular. You're gonna be popular. Popularity aside, who is the winner? Hands down, looking at the cold hard cash, Canada wins when it comes to the education front. Canadian degree will cost you $30,000 to $40,000 compared to a US one, which can come up to a whopping $100,000. It also makes sense why Canada is one of the highest educated countries in the world. So Canada isn't always synonymous with being super friendly towards business, but I think it's a little unfair to say that we are completely against entrepreneurship. I used to work for a chamber of commerce, and I can tell you there are some amazing, innovative businesses here in Canada. I do have to say that here in Canada, businesses do face a lot of red tape at multiple levels of government with multiple levels of taxation, which could make it harder to run a business here. Or federal government changing policies that could impact provincial businesses or industries. So it can be really frustrating at times, especially for small businesses. And on top of that, Canada has some pretty strict labor laws. On the other side, the Canadian government also has great incentives and grants towards businesses, especially in the tech space. Again though, Canada also has a higher minimum wage compared to the US, which is great for employees, but not so great for small businesses. In general, Canada has stronger labor laws as well as unions in place. And in general, as a worker, that means you have a better bargaining position. For instance, in Canada in 2022, Canadians worked an average of 35.7 hours per week. And although the minimum wage varies quite a bit, the lowest being in Saskatchewan, $13 an hour, and the highest in BC at $16.75 an hour. And in America, you can earn a whopping $5.15 an hour. In California, you can earn about $15 an hour. And if you're working in corporate America, the expectation is that you are going to be working a lot more hours. On average, you're going to be working 40.2 hours per week, and that's for the cohort of age 25 to 54. So, if you like working more, the winning country is America. But if you do like to have better labor laws in place and you are an employee, Canada is the winner. But let's face it, none of us are working for the fun of it. No, what we are working towards is a sweet, sweet retirement. Essentially, Canada has a more generous retirement program as well as more vehicles for investment. So Canada wins this round. The positive thing is if you want to retire in a warmer climate, you can be a Canadian snowbird, which means you can live up to 6 months abroad in the United States without any of the tax consequences. You cannot live full-time in the US as a Canadian. You would have to go through the immigration process to be able to do so. But what is the point of retirement if you can't afford a house to live in?
Welcome to the house!
To the house of Holbein!
Welcome to the housing market. Buying a house in Canada is generally more stringent than in the US. Some of the key factors include needing 5 to 10% to even 20% down for a down payment. Canadian mortgages also have an amortization limit of 25 years. During that time, of course, you can renegotiate for your mortgage with other terms. And as a positive, Canada has a first-time buyer incentive. But this wouldn't be a worthy review if it wasn't to mention that some of the hotspots of Canadian market is so freaking expensive. Vancouver, Toronto, even Calgary where I live now, prices are insane, to put it lightly. Well, in America, you can purchase a house with as little as 3% down, depending on the terms and conditions, of course. And mortgages can be over 30 years with fixed terms and rates. When it comes to pure costs, I think that Americans are ahead in most of their cities compared to Canada. If you compare America and Canada's most expensive cities, they are pretty equitable. But America has a lot of smaller cities that are still quite desirable to live in. But, it's a huge but, Canada didn't suffer from the 2008 financial crisis in the same way because its financial underpinnings were much more healthy compared to the US. It was able to weather the storm, which was huge for individuals to keep their houses. But if you're looking at a purely individual scenario and you're looking to buy a house, you might get further ahead in America than you would in Canada. So America wins this round, but it wins it just by this much. Best musical is like the category you've been waiting for. This was a really hard one to make a decision on. Canada has been a great incubator of some pretty amazing musicals. The musical Hadestown, incubated right here in good old Alberta. And who could forget the most beautiful Canadian musical of all time, Come From Away, which ironically I watched in New York.
Welcome to Iraq!
I do have to give it away to America because they have essentially created the musical genre, and juggernaut musicals have come out of America, and they also have Lin-Manuel Miranda, which seems unfair. Pains me to say it, but America, you win this category, and the only way I'm gonna feel any better about it is if you hit the subscribe button, like right now. Just do it. And talking about overly dramatic demands, what does the political landscape look like between these two countries? The political climate in America is très spicy. I would say America is kind of split between two different factions. You've got the liberal elite, which are on the west and the east coast of America, and they control most of the media. And thus they want to infiltrate the American values and degrade them with Botox, spray tan, and sushi. And you have the center of America, which is called the American Midwest. Geographically, this makes no sense, but just accept it and roll with it. This is filled with the evangelical political complex. These people are what I like to call the United States of Jesus land. And they are really super nice people as long as you don't disagree with them and as long as you're not the liberal elite. In comparison, Canada is beautifully bland. Sometimes the liberals win, sometimes the Conservatives win. And best of all, people will actually change their votes once in a while. They're not as hardliner about being in one political party for the duration of their entire life. And if you mess up as a political party, Canadians will politely kick your butt to the curb and welcome in another, usually coalition government. And I would say that generally Canada has been seen as like a fun-loving, warm, friendly country, like super nice, really, really nice. That has changed a little bit. Since COVID, you have seen a lot more of the hardliner approach that you have seen in the US kind of infiltrate into Canada. This is the first time in 20 years I've seen Canada have more of an aggressive tone and letting go of the live and let live policy that it's usually known for. And caveat, I think Canadians are actually pretty warm, hospitable, friendly people, despite some of the changes that you've seen over the last few years. Who is the winner in this situation? I'm gonna be honest, you're gonna have to choose, because some people really enjoy a très spicy political situation. And for some people, that's their cup of tea that they choose to spill into the ocean. And for some people, it's nice just to not even think about it, which makes this a straight up tie. But who actually cares about political climate when you can talk about the actual climate and sunshine? Okay, America wins this category. Unless you want to have winter for 5 months of the year, then Canada is your winner and you're a weird person. Doesn't matter if you're freezing your bonbons off if you get to move up the societal ladder. Canada comes with a lot of social services baked straight into its government as well as its community resources, which means for newcomers it becomes relatively easy to move their way up the social ladder through tax credits as well as community support. One of the hardest things that you'll face as a newcomer is your ability to get a job, which is not something to be underestimated. It can be really hard to find a good paying job, and that good paying job makes all the difference in your lifestyle in Canada. And at the end of the day, most people want to have a good paying job rather than relying on social assistance. This story is anecdotal because it's mine. I came to Canada, my family and I, with about $6,000 in savings to get started, and we had little else like sleeping mattress on the ground for 6 months. And over the course of 22 years, my family and I have been able to get multiple degrees. We've been able to have great jobs and opportunities come our way, as well as build wonderful networks of individuals who have made for a wonderful community, as well as allowed for job prospects. This would only be possible if Canada were welcoming to newcomers in the long run. While America is literally the land of the American dream, the idea that you can get ahead is part of the narrative of the nation. That's where I put a little asterisk. Because if you are a special star and you are able to go to incredible heights, which in the end will become a thing of legends that inspires people, that will be amazing. But in reality, if you're looking for a society that's a bit more egalitarian, allows everyone an opportunity to move ahead, America is not that country. Canada has a 12 to 18 month parental leave policy for when you have that newborn. So it's squishy. And it's the best for North America. If you are employed and you have paid into your EI premiums before your pregnancy, you will be able to withdraw up to 60% of your income, up to a certain amount, to cover your parental leave. It is only for 12 months, the amount that you can withdraw, but you can stretch that 12-month payment over 18 months, and your company has to legally hold your position. Also, depending on the company you are with, you can receive a top-up amount from that company above and beyond the 60%. Here's the thing, this all looks really good on paper, but as a mom, I have seen a lot of my moms go through the scenario where the company actually doesn't have to hold the same position for you, and they kind of sidestep you, or they put you in a bit of a crap situation because that is all that they are legally beholden to. So it looks good on paper sometimes, but it's not the best, and it really depends on the progressiveness of the company that you're working for, and unfortunately, it's really hard to know until you're in the situation. Versus US of A. Now, I don't love shaming a country for its policies, but I am gonna throw some shade at America. I think it is terrible how America treats new moms or new parents with babies. Legally, you are allowed 6 weeks of having your job protected. Many Americans have to leave their 6-week-old at daycare, whether they want to or not. So who's the winner in this category? It's pretty freaking obvious. Canada wins hands down. I would give it multiple points. all the points if I could, because I think it makes such a huge difference if you're planning on having multiple children. And unless you are freaking independently wealthy, you have to make the really hard decision of putting your kids into daycare at a very early age. It turns out there's a clear winner here, and it's Canada, which means you can safely go and climb onto that all-expenses flight after you are touched by security airport way too much, and you can fly over the ocean and land at an airport, and I will greet you, and I will say, hey, Christy from the future here, and I have a really big confession to make to you. I'm really glad that you watched the end of this video. I also think I didn't capture the full extent of what the differences are between Canada and the US of A. And I got really obsessed over the last few months and I wrote a book about it. And because you are awesome and you support me, click the link down below and I will send you that ebook for free for the next 3 days. See you in the future.